So let's talk Umbrella Academy. Ellen, I'll kick things off with you. This season, it's very much a redemption arc for Vanya, and there's a ton of growth, and she's changed a lot from when we last saw her in season one. And I was wondering if you could talk to me about how you changed your approach to the character, if at all.
Yes, it definitely changed. As we see at the end of the first season, she releases a tremendous amount of repressed anger and emotion. Doesn't really work out for the world because she blows up the moon. But there's definitely a lightness in the beginning of the season. You see so much of that weight lifted. So just sort of approaching her in a way where she's much more comfortable in her body. She's much more able to connect with her emotions. I mean, she falls in love for the first time. So I think it was approaching it, that way. I mean, she's just happier in many ways. And like you said, we see that growth continue over throughout the second season.
Which was, for me, the most fantastic thing about your character, because I think in season one, everything was manipulated around her, even the love she supposedly had. And it was nice to see a natural affection develop between, I won't spoil anything, but yes.
You're right. Yeah. In the first season, she's in a very abusive relationship, incredibly manipulative. And this season gets to experience a very beautiful love. So it was nice to get to play Vanya, getting to have some of that beauty and joy in her life.
Very cool. Emmy, your arc strikes incredibly close to what's happening in America and the rest of the world right now. I mean, equality, racism, police brutality. I mean, it's sad that it's something that's never not relevant. And I wanted to ask you how you think stories like this and repetition of stories like this are important.
It's incredibly important. The biggest thing that, keeps hitting home for me so hard is that a lot of people like to think that the 60s was so long ago, and that the struggles and the fight for change of that time we're fighting for different things now, and that those issues have been resolved. And in my mind, eye-opening to, the parallels of the time period and of the civil rights movement and of that fight for change. Because, I think in watching the riot scene in episode 3 is very similar to what we're watching play out on our TV screens.
Yeah.
Like nightly now. And it's continuing to kind of acknowledge and hopefully shine a brighter light on the fact that not much has changed, and that's devastating. But I also think the change that I do feel is that this movement and this moment is it feels it's global in a way that I feel like it never has been, for Black Lives Matter and for diversity and for equality and for marginalized people and for the LGBTQ community. And I think it's really exciting, but I also think it's also devastating that it is so systemic and the roots are so deep.
Talking about that diversity, I think the thing that I enjoy most about the Umbrella Academy is that as a family, it isn't necessarily highlighted all the time. You guys just are, and it's accepted. And I think that's something that is incredibly powerful. And I wanted to know your approach to that material.
I think that's kind of the beauty of our show, is that it's quirky and it's weird, and it is never really addressed that like our butler was a monkey, and it's never really addressed that our mom was a robot. It's just kind of like you're kind of forced to just accept it. And I think in the way that, people accept that this is a family of adopted children from parents of all walks of life, it's a representation of what the world looks like and what the world is, with, like a little sprinkling of superpowers and supernatural, and especially this season, that like fish that talk. It's just like, okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Last year, Ellen, you spoke very candidly about the serious lack of LGBTQ stories and representation. 18 months on, I was wondering what you thought that was looking like, because, I mean, from an observer's point of view, for me, it feels like there's more of it, and that's a great thing.
Yes, I mean, undeniably, that's true. There's far more representation. And yeah, I mean, if you told me when I was 26, I'd be out playing this character, dressed the way I am on a show with this reach, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have liked to have that hope. So I feel incredibly grateful for that. And sure, so important in front of the camera, of course. I mean, any sort of little glimmers of representation I saw as a young person, as a teenager, meant so much to me.
Emmy, I can't let you go without talking about Hamilton, because we're obsessed with it in this house.
Yes.
And I need to know, now that it's out on Disney Plus, now that people can watch it anytime they want and over again, and God knows we have here. What does it feel like with the reliving the craze? I mean, it's in the news every day. There are 100 articles everywhere. What is that like?
I think it kind of, I feel like we have always been trying to catch up with this thing that ran away from us. The Grammys to the Tonys to like being on like first name basis with the Obamas. Like, it's just like, it's just insane. And I think this like second wave of kind of like a different kind of release for this groundbreaking piece of art is really, because also taking theater out of the theater is also kind of a new thing. And so I think that in itself is kind of a like revolutionary, I think. And so it's just really incredible.
Thanks so much, guys. That's all the time I have. I love the work that the both of you do.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
See ya.